Welcome to the Greater Than Business podcast, where it's all about creating an amazingly successful business without sacrificing your quality of life, because life should be greater than business. And now, here is your host, Courtney Bedore.
This is episode 32 of the Greater Than Business podcast, and today we are going to be talking all about how to use an evergreen webinar to revive an old product. Now, if you are not familiar with me and my business model and the way that I teach entrepreneurs how to build a more effective business and a more automated business, then you might not be familiar with the fact that I love evergreen webinars. And if you haven't already, I highly suggest going back and listening to a few episodes where I talk about evergreen webinars, specifically episode 12, which you can find at greaterthanbusiness.com/012. And in that episode, I cover how to use an evergreen webinar to scale your business. And then if you want more details on kind of where this mindset comes from, I suggest that you go back and listen to last week's episode where I talk about creating an additional income stream by using a marketing funnel. Now, you create that additional income stream by using a marketing funnel, but then what you can do is allow your evergreen webinar to become your conversion method. And by setting up the evergreen webinar, what you can do is just run ads directly to the evergreen webinar or promote it directly on social media. And you can also have it inside your marketing funnel. So you can use one piece of content and one sales mechanism in 3 or 4 or multiple different ways just by creating this one thing, which is your evergreen webinar. So in today's episode, I'm going to talk about why I think that it's important to use evergreen webinars on older products that you'd like to revive. So chances are in your business, along your journey, you've created products that at the time you thought were absolutely amazing, and you spent so much time creating it, getting it out there to the people, and let's say a couple hundred people bought that product. Then you would consider that a success, and you might not have ever thought about it again. Maybe you moved on to the next great thing. Maybe your business pivoted a little and you were doing something along the same lines but slightly different. There's various things that can happen along your business journey, but whatever the case is, chances are you have an old product, course, even a phone call that might be recorded, something like that, where it is quality content that has not changed and you are not profiting off of it now. And that's what I want you to focus on. I want you to go find an old product and I want you to pump some life back into it. And what I want you to do is create an evergreen webinar around this product so that you can sell it on autopilot. Something that can sell in the background while you're out doing your thing, building your business. You can have this steady income stream. Now, keep in mind, this income stream will be small. It's not going to be a game changer in your business. But if you do this a couple times over, you might be able to create a sustainable additional income source for your business that will allow you to focus your time on other higher revenue generating tasks. So for this one, what I want you to do is think about all of those old products and pick one. And if you don't have one, what I'd like you to do is take a look at back burner ideas that you've once had and think of something easy that you could turn into a product that you could sell using an evergreen webinar. And if you're not entirely sure what an evergreen webinar is, I want you to download our guide to Evergreen webinars, which is basically a checklist that goes over everything that you could possibly need to get your Evergreen webinar up and running. So if you don't have that, I'm going to link to it at the bottom of the show notes page, and you can find the show notes page at greaterthanbusiness.com/032. Now, in that checklist, it covers everything, and I mean absolutely everything that you need to hook up an Evergreen webinar. So in that guide, I recommend that you have a live webinar and you do it live first, and then you switch it over to Evergreen. But for this setup and reviving an old product, I believe that you can just record a training and preface it as a webinar and then allow people to join your list to watch your webinar. And then you're going to be selling your product at the end of that webinar. So it doesn't need to be something where you're looking for high volume numbers to come in at the beginning, because at this point, any little amount of people that join the program or that join your webinar are all going to become assets in your business. So you don't need to worry about doing a hard sell to them at the beginning of this journey with that potential lead and customer. But what you can do is just count this as a nurturing tool that also will sell a couple copies of whatever old program it is that you're going to be developing or repurposing, I guess is the better word, not developing. So why I set it up this way and why I want you to think about doing it this way is because if you are to set up an Evergreen webinar and slowly start selling your course and also at the same time building your list, you are going to be allowing yourself to create more income in your business and allowing yourself more time. And by doing this action once, you could potentially be profiting off of it for years to come. So what I recommend my clients do when they are adding this additional income stream into their business is I recommend that they sit down for a weekend and basically hammer out everything that they need to do. Get this up, get this running, and then tweak and experiment as it's happening. And it's not something that you need to check in on all of the time. What I actually do is I'll just set up a dashboard inside my client's Infusionsoft account or inside my own Infusionsoft account. And that dashboard will give me the key metrics that I want to see in order to make business-related decisions on my Evergreen webinar. So obviously, if I'm not getting a lot of traffic into the Evergreen webinar, then I know that I need to go and promote it more. Or maybe I'll put some ad spend behind it. Generally, I don't put ad spend behind things. I am a fan of building things out organically and finding your people that way. It is very slow, very tedious, but I find that the leads that I get from organic sources are much greater than ones that I get from using paid traffic sources. So, not saying that paid is bad, paid is good, but I just find the quality is always a little bit better when they find me through organic ways. But that being said, I have established my business in a way that if you find me organically, then you are searching for keywords and phrases that I want my ideal clients to be using. So I'm going to get into SEO and all of that other crazy stuff in a different episode, but I just kind of wanted to let you know and preface it that it's not completely easy to get people organically, and paid advertising is a good thing. I just prefer to do it the slow and methodical way versus the fast and quick way. So that's just personal preference. You can do whatever you want, but now I'm getting on a tangent about ads versus traffic, and that's not where this episode is going. So let's put this train back on the tracks. And the use of an Evergreen webinar and driving traffic to it can be really, really good for your business growth, because this is something where you're going to be able to bring in just a little bit of income, but you won't have to really think about it. The only thing that you're going to have to look at, as I said, is those numbers on your dashboard to see if you want to change anything about how you are driving people to your webinar. And by setting up this Evergreen webinar, it's something that can just run in the background, and all you need to worry about is just getting eyes on the webinar. And then obviously making sure that your webinar is converting. So if your webinar is not converting and I usually don't make any changes unless I've had at least 100 people go through it. And if I'm not happy with the conversion rate after the first 100 people have gone through it, then I start to make tweaks. In bigger businesses that have ad spend behind things, I will bump that number up to 500 people. So if I don't have 500 people go through and I'm not happy with the results, then I won't make any changes until that 500th person has gone through. Then I'll take a look at the stats, and if I'm happy with the conversions, then I'll leave it as is. And if I'm not happy with the conversions, then I go in and I tweak. And at that point, I really dissect what is going on in my Evergreen webinar. Is the pitch incorrect? Am I being too salesy? Am I not being salesy enough? There's various things that can happen. And if you're new to the way how I look at marketing, I don't believe in the icky sales tactics of scarcity and limited quantities, and this product is going to be the best thing ever, and if you don't buy it now, you're a failure. Like, all of that stuff, I just find it very not something I'm comfortable with. Let's put it that way. So the reason why I use Evergreen webinars is because it's something where I can sell a product, but I don't have to make it incredibly scarce. I can just say, hey, if this product's for you, here it is. If it's not for you, that's fine. You're already on my list, and I'm going to provide a whole bunch of resources for you. And hopefully at some point, if you do change your mind, this product will still be available. You can get it then. And if not, then I hope my free stuff helps you. And if my free stuff isn't helping you and you're still looking for that additional thing, then maybe I have something else available for you that will help. So I don't want to be in that space of being heavily sleazy in the sales tactics. So if you are aligned with that, then great. If you do believe that scarcity and time-sensitive sales and that kind of thing are something that sell, I don't disagree with that. I believe that they do sell, but it's not something that I use in my business to sell. So I'm not saying that one way is better than the other or one way is wrong. I'm just saying my personal preference versus other people's personal preferences. So by all means, you do what works for you, do what works for your business, but also be open to, if you're not seeing the results that you want, that doesn't mean that you need to scale up the offer and add bonuses or do anything crazy. Maybe you just need to rework your pitch just a touch. Or maybe you need to rethink your strategy of who you're marketing to, and maybe you're not getting in front of the right people. Or maybe you are getting in front of the right people, but your message isn't clear and they're not realizing that you are the right person to help them. So little things like that, little tweaks that you can make to your webinar will be things that you'll do as you progress. But I've kind of gotten into some really deep strategy here, which was not the intent of this episode. But you're getting kind of an idea of all of the things that can go into an Evergreen webinar and why it is super important that you follow a checklist, you make sure you have everything in place, that you think about using Evergreen webinars to not promote your bread and butter course, but maybe other products that you can use. And I'm not saying, please don't hang up on that and say I'm saying don't use Evergreen webinars for your bread and butter. By all means, use it there too. But what I'm saying is you can also use it for old courses. So I actually did have a client a couple years ago when we were first kind of starting working together. And she had several old courses, which she was not selling anymore. She had no desire to sell, but she knew that there was still value in those courses. So what we did was we went in and created a series of evergreen webinars so that if people were interested in these courses, we put up on her membership site an archived area. So these were archived courses that were no longer available with live support, but what they were was just kind of self-study. And we flipped them over to become self-study versions, took out all the mentioning of the live aspects, got rid of the Facebook group, things like that, where it involved more time on her part, which is what she did not have. And then what we did is we added them at the bottom and basically in her self-study section and of her membership site, so that if you were on, I guess it's not really a membership site, on her sales page site, which had a link to all of her membership site courses and other courses that she had. Now, at the very, very bottom is where we had this section. And what you had to do if you were interested in one of her older courses, you could go and actually watch a webinar, which was basically a sales page, which was explaining what you would get in the course and who it was going to help and how it was going to help them. And if you were right for it, then this would be where you would buy the course after you watch the Evergreen webinar. So not only were we selling courses that were sitting there for years that nobody was buying because nobody knew that they were still available, we opened them up. We made quite a few $1,000s in sales just by doing a little bit of grunt work on the back end. And then all we had to do after that was just monitor the sales, monitor the campaign as a whole, and make sure that things were still converting. And to this day, she's still getting sales from these Evergreen courses that we set up and the Evergreen webinars that we set up. So it's interesting to see that in a couple of years, like she's definitely made way more than a couple $1,000s now, but it's really neat to see that something that you may have thought is written off in your business, that you're not going to be using anymore, that you don't need to be using anymore in your business. You may think it's outdated or something's changed, but there's still value in it for other people. There's still value for your audience. So why not open up that channel and create that additional income stream and allow people that may not have been around? Let's say you created a course in 2015 and I didn't start my online business journey until 2017. Well, then obviously I'm not going to know what you had available in 2015, but that course that you promoted that one time might be the fuel that drives my business. If I buy that course from you, that might be the one thing that I needed. And just because I didn't start until 2017 doesn't mean that that course might not be relevant to me. And even if your business has changed directions, you can always honor where you came from and say, like, let's say that you've become a coach in the online space, but you used to do VA work. And let's say you had a course on how to become a VA. Well, in the coaching industry, there's a lot of coaches out there that coach VAs. So why could you not market that and package it up to be an evergreen course that you can sell and using an evergreen webinar and allow those people to come in? Even though your business has changed, those people still might be leads that you want on your list that will eventually turn into potential coaching clients. You can almost use it as kind of a paid lead magnet. So they're opting in to watch your Evergreen webinar, but after they purchase whatever you're selling on your Evergreen webinar, they might convert to your higher offerings or your newer offerings because maybe they resonate with you as a person and they see your journey, they felt your struggle, they understand where you came from, how you've got there, why you've got to where you are, and they want to follow that journey. So why not allow them to come in at an entry point that feels better for them versus, like, I'm just using coaching as an example right now, but a lot of people first starting out in business can't afford or don't understand the value in coaching. So if you're selling a $5,000 package, maybe that's just not right for them right now. Even if they've just met you and they do feel a connection with you, maybe they just cannot make $5,000 work. But you know what they can make work? $199 for that course that you created, which will get them started on their path, get them moving, get them going. And then when they do have that $5,000 to spend on a coach, who do you think they're going to spend that on? Obviously, the person whose low ticket item that they opted into through their Evergreen webinar, maintained and stayed on the list, kept following the journey, and then once they got to that point in their business, of course, they're going to hire you. You were their barrier to creating this life that they're now living and this business that they now have. So keep all of that in mind as you are going through and you're toying with the idea of starting this Evergreen webinar. And remember that an old product doesn't need to just be a one and done creation. You can use it, you can resell it, you can keep selling it, you can bring some life back into it very, very easily. And you could potentially create a nice other little income stream off of it. So take a listen to episode 31 if you have yet to do so. I hope that you really enjoyed this episode, which you can find everything I mentioned, all the show notes and everything at greaterthanbusiness.com/032. And for the other episode that I just mentioned, you can find that at greaterthanbusiness.com/031. As I said, all of these links are going to be in the show notes. And I really want you to think about creating an additional income stream in your business, and more specifically, using an Evergreen webinar to sell it and to revive that old product that you didn't think that you would be ever profiting with again. So I hope that you really liked this episode. Once again, if you have any questions at all, I am always available. I am just a short email away, flow@flowautomationinc.com. And before I go, I just want to say next week, I am going to be having a quick lesson on 5 ways that you can always be growing your email list. So I'm really excited about that episode. I can't wait to share it with you. I hope that you are having a fantastic life in your business. I hope that you are doing everything that you want to be accomplishing this year, and I can't wait to talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Greater Than Business podcast at www.greaterthanbusiness.com.